Well guys, welcome to another video with Back Garden Bushcraft. I thought I'd carry on my little mini-series on carving today. So I've actually got one of my friends coming around. I haven't seen him for ages, so it'd be really nice to see him. And he's expressed an interest in learning the basics of wood carving. So today we're going to go over everything to get started with wood carving. We're going to go over knife grips, basic axe techniques and safety, sharpening and maintenance. We're going to go over the various types of tools you can find on the market, and then I'm going to get him started using what I've taught him on a project, and he wants to make a coffee scoop or a spoon or something along those lines. So we'll show a bit of B-roll of that, bit of footage of him carving and me carving. And I'll try and bring you along. Obviously the point of this is to teach him, but I'm going to try and hopefully get some stuff in there for you guys that you'll find useful. And really it's just going to be a nice carving video. You'll see like relaxing carving and look at some nice tools and things. I've got some of my collection out to show him, so you can see the sort of various options for tools, because there are a lot of options. Now Sam is a DT teacher, and we work together at school, so he's very good at woodwork, way better than me at woodwork. He makes beautiful guitars as a hobby. Okay, he's got a degree in making musical instruments, so he's a very talented guy, and someone I can learn an awful lot from. But he's used to using more modern tools, and also chisels and gouges and things like that. But when it comes to crook knives and straight knives and axes, this would be probably his first time of using them to actually create an object. And obviously traditional tools have their own dangers and things to learn about them. Obviously with an axe you're getting fairly close to your hand when you're carving. Same with a knife. I remember this one, which I'll show you later. This was my first spoon knife. Okay, it's a Mora, and the first day I got it, I put it straight in my thumb because I wasn't used to using this type of tool. And there's actually still a fingerprint that's been etched into the steel from the blood that got on this blade the first time I used it. So there's lots of quirks and things to learn about specific woodcraft tools. So we're going to go over the real basics of that today. Hopefully you'll find some of this useful and at the very least relaxing and fairly enjoyable. If you do find this useful, please drop me a like and leave a comment. It's much appreciated. But yeah, enjoy. Well guys, my mate Sam's here, and he's here to learn some carving. So as I said earlier, he's a DT teacher, very familiar with sort of woodworking and things like that. We're going to introduce him to a few different tools. Obviously because of Corona and things, we're going to have to try and stay about a metre apart, and still be able to teach him the techniques of how to use an axe and things. So the first thing I want to do is show you the different tools that are available on the market for bushcraft and specifically carving, and give you a little present. So Sam, this is the best starter bushcraft knife that you can get. It's not fancy, but it does the job.
Awesome, bro.
I sharpened it on Waterstones, so it's got a better edge than you'd get just buying one in the store.
Nice.
So you can have a play with that today.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Cool. Right, let's show Sam the fancy ones, and then we'll get started actually doing some chopping and playing around with knives. Okay, Sam. So the majority of the sort of material you remove from a spoon or something like that, you use an axe. Obviously most axes you see in people's sheds are blunt. These aren't. So these you could shave with. They're as sharp as any of the knives, but obviously they've got the weight behind them, so they're a lot more dangerous than a knife because you have the weight behind the edge. Things like for woodcraft and carving, something like this, which is a sort of forest axe, is less useful than a hatchet. It's great for splitting the wood to start with, But the issue you'll find is when you're trying to do the intricate work and you're choking up on it, having such a long handle can get stuck on your pocket, it can get stuck on bits of objects, and the danger with that is if you've got your hands up here and you're aiming down here and then suddenly your handle hits something, it can hit a lot higher than you intend.
Yeah.
So starting out, I would absolutely recommend having a shorter handle on an axe. So I've got these out just to show what a forest axe I would use for sort of bushcraft. Something like this is probably the best axe for bushcraft if you were just to have one. This is the small forest axe. My favourite axe of all time.
Yeah.
It can be used for carving. Giles Newman, who's a professional carver, only ever actually used one axe, and he used that axe because it can do everything from bushcraft to carving tasks.
Oh, cool.
So obviously you're interested in learning how to do the basic moves of carving. So these are the ones that we're going to be focusing on because these are specifically designed for carving. This is a big heavy boy. This is a Swedish Carving Axe. Now this has a really curved profile and it's really designed for a flick of the wrist, so that you can use this top portion of the blade. If you look, it's designed to slice.
Yeah.
It's actually the heaviest of all the carving axes, and it means you have to use less power to make the same cut. So that's a beautiful axe, very, very nice. So that's a Swedish carver. The one I would recommend getting as a beginner, or even I think it's still one of the best axes you can buy, because it can do everything from kindling to carving, is the Wildlife Hatchet. And this is just such a fantastic tool. I use it all the time. It was I've had this about 5 years. Razor sharp, and it's just the perfect size for carving. So that's going to be your.
About these before.
Yeah, it's the one I recommended.
Yeah.
So I think you can have that as your axe for the day.
Cool. Brilliant.
And then the other two here, just to show you can get even smaller ones for detailed work. So this is a really, really tiny mini hatchet. It's more like a bigger knife really in what it can do. And then that is the same head as the Wildlife Hatchet, but on a smaller handle for more control. So various options, but really the two that I would suggest is this one, the small forest axe, and the Wildlife Hatchet. So I've already given you your Mora, which is a fantastic knife for carving, but fixed blades are slightly stronger for doing things like battening, where you whack it through wood.
Yeah.
So these are just a couple of my fixed blades. So slightly longer one, made by Ben Orford. Very nice knife.
Wood at the bottom.
Yeah. And all of these are users. They're not like ones I keep looking.
Yeah, they're not decorative.
Just to look nice. This is an Adventure Sworn, similar design, but very comfortable in the hand.
Yeah.
And it means you can use it in different grips, and every grip it's just equally as comfortable.
And these handmade in the USA.
That one's handmade in the USA. Yeah.
So the grip.
That one's handmade in the UK. These two are USA. So these two, this is based on the Raymir's knife. So very similar. It's got desert ironwood handles, about a 4-inch blade, and 4mm thick stock. So you can whack this through wood. Really, really strong, very comfortable handle. You can use it in any grip, and we're going to look at the different grips. This is a very special one. This is probably my most fancy knife. This is antler handled, Ben Orford. Very, very fancy knife. I love using this. Okay, so we've looked at a lot of different options that are on the market for carving tools. You really don't need much to carve. I brought a lot of different things out just to show Sam, because there's just so many. But really, the essentials, a med kit with things like trauma bandages to stop bleeding. Okay, you don't want to be using sharp objects without a med kit. A pair of gloves just to protect the hands, especially when you're starting out. Can prevent a lot of small nicks and cuts and blisters and things. Okay. Baco Laplander saw, really cheap, really effective. Okay, you can see the wear that's on this one, but really good tool. 100% recommend it. An axe of some kind, for example, I've just got here my favourite one, the small forest axe. Having a good axe is pretty important for taking off stock. You don't necessarily have to have the best, but brands like Holterfors, Wetterlings and Gransfors Brooks are fantastic tools, and I would trust them implicitly. And then finally, this is my personal carving kit. If I'm going carving, this is what I will carry. I'd have a belt knife, so a bushcraft knife, any of the ones I showed you, and then I'd have this specifically for carving. I've got hook knives of various descriptions. So these are designed for carving the bowl of a spoon. So the blade is actually curved and it's designed for hollowing. So I will show you how to use these later in the video, but effectively they're literally scoops, and they're used to scoop out the wood and create a hollow. Okay, and basically what you do is you hold it in your fingers like that, and you just practice going back into the gap between your first finger and your thumb, and you can see that if you keep that angle and just move it in the fingers, you can't cut yourself. Okay, but you have to make sure you keep that action where you're just using the fingers to move it. Okay, but I'll show you that later on. And then other than that, you want a knife like this as a finishing knife and a dedicated carving tool. Nice thin blade, narrow blade, so you can carve round corners and make those nice detailed cuts. This one's made by Greenman Knives and is excellent for slicing, which is probably my favourite carving knife. Right then, enough of me waffling on about tools. I could talk about them all day. Knife grips. So obviously if we're going to pass each other knives, the safe way to do it is rather than pointing the knife at the blade first and looking like you're going to stab them, it's just actually rock the knife back in the thumb and forefinger. Okay, pass it to them handle first.
Oh, okay.
So that's how I pass knives, how I've been taught. It's just the safest way. Obviously you don't want to be walking around with a knife because you could fall on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how you safely pass a knife. So there's the sheath. First things first. A few general safety tips with these. Obviously knives are incredibly sharp, and often we're sitting down. The area between your legs we call the triangle of death. Okay, so triangle of death is basically all of this area of your groin, and you have the femoral arteries on the inside of your legs. If you cut those, nothing anyone can do. You die. So the rule is you never carve into the triangle of death. You always carve outside. So if you're carving off to one side, turn your body and carve out to the side of your legs. Okay, so it can't cut you then.
Yeah.
All right. The other rule is called the blood circle, and basically we're slightly too close here just for the video, but the area at arm's length around you is the blood circle, and you should be able to not be within range of someone else, because otherwise if they were to stumble and fall, they could fall on your knife.
Right.
So they're general tips. Avoid anything that cuts into your body, cut away from your body, and make sure you're not too close to other people and in their blood circle.
Simple.
Cool, pretty simple. The first knife cut that we'll look at is the simple sort of power cut away from you. So you hold the piece of work in your left hand.
I'm left-handed, by the way.
Ah, okay, in the other way.
Yeah, I know.
Like that. Yeah. So away from your body, all right, and you just slice away. Hold the knife as if you're shaking its hand. So just so it's nice and comfortable. I know you know all this stuff. It's just obviously for the video. It's some people may have never picked a knife up before. So hold it like you're shaking its hand so it's nice and comfortable. And you can either have your elbows on your knees, okay, and carve out in front like that, or, as I've shown you already, out to one side. That way, either of those techniques, you can't cut yourself. Okay, so I'm going to grab you a piece of wood and just have a whittle. Cool. Okay, so I've given Sam a piece of pine, and what we're going to do is we're going to start making some feather sticks. So feather sticks, Sam's used for lighting the fires. Okay, you saw me whittling earlier when you arrived.
Yeah, I've seen you do
made
it before.
these little curls.
Yeah.
Basically, the trick to doing that is to get used to the angle of your knife. So at first, lay it flat on the piece of wood, okay? And then carve, so you don't actually take any material off, you're just following the flat of the blade, and then tilt the knife just so that that blade engages the piece of wood. And then you'll find the angle on your knife.
Cool.
Yeah, so you just, and the idea is to just keep doing it until you can get long strokes and curls. And it's all about getting that knife nice and stable. Only just biting in enough just to take a small slither. Nice. So try taking your thumb off the back of the blade. It can be really useful, but also if you just get a nice fist grip, just hold it like you're shaking its hand, and then just naturally just carve down. You'll find it more comfortable.
Yeah.
Cool. So every time you make a cut, think of it as you're taking off a ridge. So we can see on this piece of wood there's a nice triangular shape to it. If I carve along that ridge, I've taken the top off, but I've actually created then two more high spots. So there's now two ridges I can work on. So I then tilt the piece of wood, find the second ridge, and carve that ridge away. Okay, I went in a bit deep there. But you find the ridge, carve it away, and each time you do, you make two more ridges. And that's the secret to making a feather stick. You just keep carving down those ridges.
Okay.
Just at the point where the blade engages the wood, and you'll get these lovely curls. You also don't want to death grip your knife. Like, it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be strangling it. Quite gentle process. Nice, Sam. Look at those curls.
Yeah.
So you just keep practicing that until you get the feel for it, and then you'll be able to pick it up and do that wherever, on any piece of wood. How's that feel?
Yeah, I feel it when I get it right. You can feel it.
You can feel that angle, can't you?
Yeah.
Where because it's what we call a Scandi grind on that knife.
Yeah.
It's got quite a flat bevel, so you can almost just rest it just so it bites.
Yeah. It's just trying to find that spot every time.
So at the moment, you notice you're using the middle portion of your blade.
Yeah.
That can be fine, but it's easier when you're just starting to use the bit nearer the handle.
Okay.
So the first inch, and you'll find you have a little bit more control because it's just slightly nearer your hands. You're less wobbly.
Right.
But again, it's just making sure you find that right angle. Yeah, can you see how they're bunching up and curling over?
Yeah.
It's a nice feeling. It feels a bit like spreading butter.
Yeah, it's really nice when you get it perfect and you feel it just glide through.
Yeah, exactly. But what you've made there is a perfectly serviceable feather stick. You could light that just with a fire still.
Yeah.
Which we'll do in a minute. If I just pause you for 1 sec, Sam.
Yep.
You don't have to make these sitting down. So you can, if you kneel, again off to one side of your body, put the feather stick, root it in the ground, so off to the real side of your body.
Yeah.
Yeah, and away, so it's not like this, just so it's got a nice gap. You then just do your thing. You find your angle, same as we did before, and you can lock your arm.
Oh, okay.
So this is all locked, and I'm just using my shoulder and the angle of the blade, no pressure at all, just to find those curls. See what I mean?
Yeah.
And if I show you something here, Sam, You see some of the curls are going this way.
Yeah.
Some of the curls are going this way and some are going straight.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually because I'm doing that on purpose. That's not an accident. So if I tilt the knife up, the curl will go that way.
Right.
So, see that?
Yeah.
If I tilt the knife down, the curl will go that way, towards my right. So, you see that? Very noticeable difference. If I hold it flat, it will go straight along the piece of wood.
I see what you mean with the angles now, yeah.
Yeah. You can play with it, can't you? And the reason we do that is to get the most volume of feather sticks in an area. That's a really good feather stick, Sam.
Cool.
Okay, so we've just been practicing some feather sticks. So again, you just find the angle of your blade. Start off by not trying to take any off, just moving the blade down, resting it flat on the thing. Tilt the angle so it bites, okay, there, and move it down. The aim is to knock off the high point and create a curl. And this, if you practice this regularly, you'll find your knife control gets incredibly consistent, because it's all about finding that angle and controlling your hand to take off the right amount of material, which actually really is the crux of what carving is about. I was showing Sam as well, if I want the curl to go this way, I lift the knife up. You can see the curl has gone that way. If I want the curl to go the other way, I point the knife down. See, it's gone that way. If I want it to go straight, I just hold the knife straight. Feather stick. There you go. So a slightly denser feather stick would catch a little bit quicker, but you can see only a few strikes and we've just taken a stick, picked up off the ground. This is actually a bit of old fence panel, I think, that's been left outside in the garden this week, so not the driest thing ever. And yeah, we've just lit a fire with just a skill that we can use to practice our knife handling, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Right, Sam, I think it's about lunch o'clock, don't you?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool, so let's do lunch a bit of a bushcrafty way. So I've got some birch bark there, and we're going to use your feather sticks to take the flame we make with the birch bark and turn it into a sustained fire. So if you take position on the birch bark, grab up the knife, and what you want to do is you want to, before you scrape the fire still, so you can drop the fire still for a sec,
All right.
you want to take your knife and very carefully scrape the bark.
Across with
so scrape like this. So
okay.
you hold it like that,
Yeah.
blade in between, and just scrape. And you'll notice you get fluff.
So do we want these bits here, or
Yep,
we want?
that's
Okay, so we want that there.
That'll do now.
Okay.
So what we've done there is we've just scraped up the birch bark, exposing the fibres, increase the surface area, and actually expose some of the natural oils that are present in the bark. When we light this, you'll notice that it burns with a black smoke, and that's all the resins and oils burning away in that bark. Okay. So we're going to take your feather sticks you've made, have them to hand.
Cool.
You're going to light the bark with the fire still.
Yep.
Using the spine of the knife to scrape it, and it will catch that alight really easily. Put the knife away safely off to one side, and then hold the feather sticks over the flame, moving the feather sticks into the fire lay. Okay?
So spark,
Yeah.
catch, light these, pop them into there.
Yeah. You literally, same as if you're scraping a piece of wood, but you use the back of the knife.
Yeah.
Because it's 90 degrees, and then you just hold it 90 degrees, push down into the fire still as if you're trying to push into
Like,
it.
like you're
and
trying
then
to do that. Cool.
just down. So place that into the pile.
Yep.
Yep.
And just like that.
Like that, and then just scrape down. There you go. Perfect. So we've just lit some birch barks. So now we're going to transfer it. Brilliant. Cool, so you want to put the feather sticks here against the brace. That will stop it being smothered. So if we just have that under there,
Yeah.
and it will stop us smothering anything. Can you see how things are just able to then breathe a little bit?
Yeah.
Cool, so chuck them all on. And then what you want to do, Sam, is go up the gears. So take your small kindling and put it on top. So the smallest bits of kindling, spread it out over the flames. And then slightly bigger stuff, put that on at a slightly different angle.
Now?
Yeah, maybe put half of it on.
Yeah.
Just give it some stuff to feed. Nice, and can you see now we've got flames rising above
Yeah.
the kindling? That means it's catching, so we can actually just chuck the next load on. And we don't want to smother it, but because we've got these here,
Yeah,
I can actually lift up the whole thing. So I don't even need to blow on it.
No, you just lift it up to get the
Just
air
lift it up, so you can chuck on the next sides. We've got a pretty good fire there already. Nicely done.
That's nice. That's more satisfying when you get one straight through like
Dude,
that.
it's my favourite thing.
Nice. How do you get it so accurate every time?
Practice. Look at that. Bang on. Okay, Sam, so we've looked at standard knife grip. What we're going to do now is something called a chest lever. Okay, so take your knife out and again hold it like you're going to shake its hand. Hello, nice to meet you. Now what you want to do is turn the knife in your hand, okay, so it rests flat. Yep, perfect.
Okay.
So now if I pull it upwards, the blade should be facing me. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Right, thumb on the safe bit of the blade. And then the butt of the knife into your chest.
Okay.
So the blade... just managed to get a bit of smoke up my nose. So the blade should be facing off the one side.
Okay.
Make sure your thumb is way back behind the cutting edge. And what we're going to do here is we're basically going to do chicken arms. And we're going to use the strength in our back to pull apart. So take a piece of wood,
Yeah.
engage the two.
Yeah.
This might take a bit of getting used to for you because it's left-handed, you're watching me
Yeah.
right-handed.
I'm watching. Yeah, so I had it the wrong way around.
And then basically we just expand our chest. So just really natural. Can you see how much power you get from that? So, and also, as long as you're holding the knife properly, all you're doing is this. So
Yeah.
how are you going to cut yourself? As long as you don't do anything stupid and then either like move the knife into like ridiculous place or put the knife behind your thumb, you're not going to hurt yourself. So it means you can be powerful without this wild swinging of the knife.
Yeah.
Yeah. So rather than normally, if I was going to be cutting a powerful stroke, the knife would swing off.
Yeah.
You see how much further that's gone.
But when
Whereas
you hit, it's
for the same
limited.
power, it's just like that. And you can actually do detailed cuts with the chest lever too. So you can actually use your thumb, so lock it all in like a vice, and then just use your thumb to push the blade. Okay, so that's used for detail. Okay, but you're still locked in. Your arms are close to your body, so you've got total control, and you're just literally just using that grip to remove stock. Nice. So then you're pulling with this arm and you're expanding your chest. So see if you can take off the biggest, try and take the biggest piece of material you can get off it. So as much power as you can get in without being like crazy. Yeah. See how that's taking off material? I'm just going to get a close-up of you doing that, Sam. Just keep it. Nice. Cool. Happy with that?
Yeah.
Cool. So that's just another tool in your arsenal, basically.
Because that if it hits a knot, then you're putting more power on it.
Exactly. Okay, so Sam, we're going to use our knife to make a stop cut now for this next cut. So what you do is you hold a piece of wood in your hand, take the knife, at a 90 degree on the piece of wood, making sure we're at a safe distance.
Yep.
Okay, and then you place it on it, thumb on top of the spine.
Okay.
And then you just rock the piece of wood.
Okay.
So just like that. And if you take a look at what you've done, you've just made a little notch. So all you then do is use your thumb to push into that, and you can remove that piece of wood. So you're not putting up to the stop cut. So you're not putting up in any more force than what's coming from your thumb. And you should be able to create a little wedge.
Yeah.
This can be really useful when you're carving spoons. You can see I've made a little wedge. So do the rocking action to sever those fibres.
Yeah.
Rocking action, meet the cut.
And you can just keep going down on that.
Keep going down. Really useful for making notches. And again, is there any way you can cut yourself doing that? If you're
all away from your hand.
Because you're out in front of yourself, you're not cutting over your lap. It's nice and safe.
Yeah.
And all the power is coming from that thumb. So the second you don't want that power there, you just stop pushing with your thumb.
Yeah.
So you're using a rocking action to make a stop cut, and then using the power of your thumb to push the knife through the wood. Very useful for making notches, tent pegs, and in carving things like spoons or butter knives. So a little rocking action, sever the fibres, and you're good to go.
There we go.
Yeah, very nice.
Cool.
So I'm going to just show you a Swedish carving technique. All the scouts, everything, teach you not to carve towards yourself. Fine, but there are times when you're carving where it's beneficial to carve towards yourself if you do it safely.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, we reverse the knife in our grip so the blade's pointed towards ourselves. Okay, you might want a different piece of wood than that, so I'll give you this after.
Okay.
You then put your piece of wood into your chest, and it's very important, the only power that you put into your cuts are from your fingers.
Yeah.
Because then you can stop if it starts coming in an angle you don't want. Angle the knife away from your body. So actually here, all that can hit me is the butt of the knife. And you see that it's angled up.
Yeah.
And then literally I'm using my fingers to just pull that knife towards me.
Yeah.
But actually, as long as I'm keeping the angle right, and as soon as this butt touches my chest, I want to stop. But you can use it really effectively for doing a few reverse cuts. Okay, so just make sure the knife's angled and you're using your fingers. You can actually as well travel, if you wanted to travel along the piece of wood, Sam, like this, you just keep your two hands together.
Yeah.
That way you've got complete control.
So you just move the other hand down with that as it goes.
But all the power is just coming from these fingers.
Yeah.
I'm not pulling it, I'm literally just pushing the knife, and that way I can stop at any point when it feels like it shouldn't be going the way it's going. How does that feel? Does that feel dangerous? Or
no, not at all, because it doesn't feel like you're putting
control,
power into it.
So as long as you're just being really careful when you're doing that, it's just another technique to have in the toolbox. You don't want to use it all the time. No. But it can be really, really handy to just know how to do that safely. Just before we cook some food, a couple of tricks with carving. I'm going to just teach you this now just because the piece of wood has got this slope on it. Mm-hmm. So obviously if we're making a spoon, there's going to be bits that angle down. Say the bowl's here, this is angling down to the handle. If I try and carve uphill, so up the grain, all that's going to happen is my knife is going to get stuck in that grain and want to split out. Yeah. So the rule with carving is to always carve downhill. Yeah. So carve down the grain. So just take this piece of wood, have a go carving down the grain versus up that grain.
And which technique do you do with this? Just
you can use any, so either a straight cut or just push it with your thumb. So a lot of carving is working out which direction to go on the wood. Yeah. and it gives you a real intimate knowledge of how wood works by doing this stuff. So there you're going downhill. Now you see the little slope I put up. Just push the knife and try and carve that slope away from that. Can you feel it just bite straight in?
And then if you pull up, it's just going to snap. It's
just going to snap off, and you're going to ruin your spoon.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I'm going to be getting you to do is just feel when you're going the wrong way and turn the piece around. And you just learn. You just don't carve uphill. There are certain times where it does work, and I'll point those out. If you're trying to get a specific outcome, you might want to actually remove material quickly. So carving uphill, you can just remove all of that material.
Yeah.
But most of the time, the rule is you want to carve down the grain.
I've done a lot of this in my guitar when I was making my guitars, because when you make braces, you got to curve the braces, and you always work down, otherwise it breaks it all out.
And what tool do you use for that?
Chisels.
Chisels.
Yeah.
Nice.
But same as this, we don't use any hammers. The chisel's all from the power of your fingers and your arms.
Right.
So it's all about sharpness and not about how hard you can hit it with a hammer.
Yeah. So you want to make sure your knives are always sharp, and I'll go over some basic stuff about that later if you want. But yeah, they're pretty much the knife grips we're going to be using. This is still just getting to temperature, so I can show you some basic axe carving techniques if you like.
Yeah, can do that.
Before lunch. So, axe carving, the axe techniques, basics. Keep your fingers well out of the way, basically. So you want to tuck it behind the piece of wood that you're working on. And you never lift the axe up above your hand. You don't want any of this because you're going to lose a hand. You'll see how this is seasoned ash, and if I was to just, you can see, you don't want that anywhere near you. So you want to carve, this is a bit small, this stump, so maybe we'll put a slightly bigger one out, but basically you want to tuck your hands behind the piece of wood you're working on, and you only want to work up to halfway, then flip the piece of wood over and work down the other way. Trick to removing material quickly rather than just whacking it as hard as you can is actually using stop cuts.
Yeah.
So we'd never tilt the axe, we never carve into ourselves, and we never carve away, because if we carve away it will do that.
Yeah.
If we carve into ourselves, we're risking hurting ourselves. So we only ever bring the axe down vertically onto the stump. So it's only, it becomes like a power hammer. Just the same motion, same power, same place every time. Okay, so you want a nice distance between you and your legs, and the axe just comes down vertically, and then we tilt the piece of wood to work out how much depth we want. So my hand's nice and tucked out here, so to hit myself here, fingers are all, you can see, really tucked out. So to hit myself here, I'd have to really bring my axe up high, or a piece of wood do that.
Yeah.
So you don't want to just smack away without thinking about it. Every time you bring the axe down, you need to just check that you're in a stable position. So to make a stop cut with an axe, start low, just bring it down vertically into there. You can see I've got a nice stop cut. Then again slightly higher, and it's removed the chunk of wood in between. Yeah. And again, a third cut in the middle, we're going to then drive down and meet those stop cuts. Okay? You can see I've started to remove that now. Flip it over. You can see where the stop cuts have been met.
Yeah.
Sometimes it would take an extra swing. Doesn't matter, it's not about power or macho, it's just sometimes you will have to go slightly above halfway, but the second you do, just calm down on the power and make sure you've got the control. It doesn't matter how many times you have to hit it. Remember, you're a machine, you're a power hammer. It's just about being safe. So you can see that.
Yeah.
Also, you want room for the axe to swing through. If you were to miss, you don't want to be doing it out in front of you, because if the axe misses to swing through, it's in the triangle of death.
Yeah.
So you want to be doing it out to the side of you, so the axe can swing through. Cool?
Cool.
So remember, key bits, don't lift up above your hand.
Yep.
work up to halfway and switch the piece of wood over.
Yep.
It's not all about power, it's more about accuracy.
And then stop cut, stop cut.
Stop cut, stop cut,
Follow all the way
stop cut.
through.
And keep your fingers tucked out the way. So I would say here,
Yep.
just
So hands
like that,
behind.
and then the fingers as little contact but whilst remaining strong, and also move your knees slightly out. There you go.
And so the axe is going straight down first.
Yep.
That's good.
There you go.
And then
How's it feel?
yeah, I feel like I get used to it.
Try
So that's a bit higher, wasn't it?
Yeah, try with a bit less power because
Yep.
at the moment we're just getting used to it as a tool. Brilliant. And it's just about practicing removing material until you're comfortable with it. It's a nice tool, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is.
You see how the stop cut releases those fibres?
Yeah.
It just makes your life easier.
And then for the second lot, you don't need to put as much pressure in, do you?
So we'd also have to use the axe to clean up these flats, okay, to make for carving. So we'd want to flatten off the front. So again, you just use the stop cut on the high point you want to take off. Can you see how I'm angling the wood rather than the axe?
Yeah.
And you can see there the cut that's made. A lot more even and flat, isn't it? So this middle bit would be the difficult part. So I'm just going to ease off the pressure just because I'm getting a bit close to the hands.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not lifting them above the piece of work. I'm also cleaning my stump each time.
Yeah.
Because you makes it much more likely to slip if there's pieces of wood on it. So if I'm on there, it could go like that. Let's just clean them off.
Cool.
Happy?
Yeah, man. Oh, that's really good.
It's really good, mate.
Stick it out in the freezer, you put it back in.
Looking really good. These are butcher's feet, so really nice. Obviously halloumi with everything is just the way to go. Well guys, got to have a proper lunch, haven't you? So we've got nice butcher's beef burgers, bit of homegrown lettuce, courtesy of Emma. I'll get out of her way in a minute, and some halloumi cheese. So we're going to enjoy this. We'll get back to carving.
I'm going to get out of her way. She's like, no.
No,
Don't get out of my way.
Don't get out of my way.
It was a good burger, man. Thank you.
Welcome. Right, so Sam has grabbed a piece of green silver birch. Oop, try not to fall off my stump. So, bit of green silver birch. We're going to start a carving project. We're not going to go through it step by step, but we will show you what we're doing. What would you like to make? We could do coffee scoop, spoon, or butter knife, any of the three. Coffee scoop, sweet. So the first thing we need to do, we want to carve green wood to make our lives easier. A lot of my projects I use seasoned wood, but that is fine when you don't have green, or if you want to use a particular type of wood that you have in seasoned wood, but it makes the carving a lot more tricky. You need a sharper knife, you need a bit more strength. Green wood carves a lot easier, it feels softer, and also you can control the drying process. Whereas with seasoned wood, often you'll be carving away and you'll find there's cracks from the drying process that completely bugger your plans. So with this, what we want to do is, the first thing is we're going to split the wood. Okay, so if I have that, we're going to have a look at the middle, find the pith, and that's going to be our sort of guide. We're also going to look around for these knots and things. We're going to work out the best. You can see the natural split there where it starts to dry. So we might actually want to just go along with that and use that as a little guide, but there's an actual subtle curve, so maybe if we follow that curve along and try and split it, pith, and we're going to use a little wacky stick here, so just seat it in there. It's a lot safer and more accurate for when we're doing this. Now when I split this, it's going to swing through, so I want to be a nice distance back from it, holding the axe out so that it will swing down and hit the stump rather than myself. So you can see the split starting to open. You can actually transition over to my other hand. Whoop, not a very good wacky stump, is it, eh? Might get my other one. Of course that happened. Right. So there we've got two pieces of wood, and you can actually see there's a twist to it.
Oh yeah. Natural grain.
Yeah, twist to the actual grain. So we'll use that piece for yours, Sam, and then I'll play around with the other bit. So what I'll do first is just clean it up. So we want to take off that bit around the pith, because that's where the splitting is going to happen as it dries. So let's just make sure this is nice and clean. You can see how sharp that axe is. Okay, so Sam wants to do a coffee scoop, so I'm just going to draw a basic design on here. We can't go further than that because there's a borehole, so we've got that amount to play with. First thing I do, Sam, when I draw on a design is I basically look at the grain and I mark a basic middle. Not measuring, you can do, but carving is kind of about going with the flow and just adapting to what the grain throws at you. My designs change during the carving process if I meet knots and things that I didn't know were there. It's good to actually adapt. See how close to the line you can go? So you want to give yourself a bit of pudding. knife.
Yeah, it cuts like butter. I saw you do it and I was like, yeah, something like that. But it does.
Yeah. I love the tools. I find them.
Fingers all alright?
Yeah. Go as much as you can. And then you switch it around. So you're already feeling the grain of the wood and seeing how it's working.
Yeah.
Just from your experience of making guitars.
Yeah, well, I've always, when we're making guitars, you've always noticed that the grain goes, although the grain goes that way, always works one way better than the other.
And you have your thumb underneath a piece of wood. And then basically we're just like a gouge. But the trick is to be doing that. So you're pulling it into the dead part of your thumb.
Yeah.
Like, so you're not pulling it into your thumb, you're pulling it into that gap.
Into that gap, yeah, into the...
So everything has to be underneath it. And you just do your thing. And you gradually widen your cut. So it starts off little bits. Then you get wider. And that's how you make your bowl. And this is just dude, for a first try on a bowl, that's insane.
This is the kind of thing that I knew I'd find this a bit easier than some of the other bits.
Well, the axe I think is the hardest bit.
Yeah. The accent I found more difficult.
That rocking action is really effective, isn't it?
I really like that rocking action.
But actually, like, I've never seen anyone teach that except for the one course I did at one outdoor festival. And it was like, try the rocking action. I was like, what's the rocking action? He showed me it. I was like, oh yeah,
I love that.
I love that shit. Right, Sam, let's see the product of your hard work.
One coffee scoop.
Hey. So guys, I'll give you a close-up of this. It's we carved it green, so what I've suggested, Sam, is let it season and then do the finishing cuts on there, clean it up, tidy it up, sand it maybe, but I mean you could start using this tomorrow if you wanted. Right guys, so Sam has finished this. Nice little coffee scoop. For a first spoon, I wish I had my first spoon here to compare it, because my first spoon was resembling a shovel. It was very, very not good. Whereas Sam's done a great job here. He's going to sand it, finish it up once the wood is seasoned and dry. But yeah, he can start using it, and he's got himself a handmade coffee scoop now. I'm going to lend him the tools, and hopefully it's something he practices and keeps up. I hope you've enjoyed watching the video. Got one little bonus clip to show you at the very end. So you want a place for the notch to ride, basically.
Yeah.
That's slightly more round. It's a bit of trial and error till you get it going. Once you're set, it starts ticking.
Yeah.
So this is at first we're just trying to burn it in.
Smoke, right?
It's at the wrong end.
Oh.
No, it's not. Work.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Not all woods work for it though.
Man's favourite fire. So you're using the green wood on top, what's the wood underneath?
Willow.
Oh, that's the willow that we were using before. Smoking better. So you're using green wood on top because it's not likely to
It will burn less.
burn it, yeah, so that's less likely to catch fire.
So you can see we've matched the top and the bottom.
Yeah.
So we actually burn that in.
Nice.
So what we do now is cut a notch out, trim up the old spindleage, get even less friction. So basically we're taking a notch out of the pie. And the idea of this, Sam, is that all the dust you generate, which is actually what starts to smoulder, has somewhere to go.
Yeah. So the notch goes all the way down, all the way through the woods.
It goes to about halfway of the circle.
Oh, okay.
Halfway in and taking about 1/8 of the whole burnt section. We're nearly there. I'm locking my wrist into my shin.
Yeah.
And that gives me stability. So I'm not pressing down my hand, I'm pressing down my body weight.
Yeah.
So you don't need to go too fast to start off with. Get it smoking. Because remember, the end goal is to build up dust. Doesn't like it.
No.
It's too chunky.
Saying that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's...
Just that you don't want to breathe on it yet because it's so fragile.
Yeah.
You don't have to rush. Most
No.
people rush and kill it. Right.
That's insane. I went so quick, I was like, oh, has he lost it?
Cool little party trick.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Cost a lot of sweat. Righty.
Beginning. That noise just needs a bit more downward pressure.
I didn't get it, did I?
Close though.
Oh, so close. I felt like I was like, yes, I'm getting it, getting it. And then it pinged.
Ping, bro. Happens. Happens.
Let's try it again.
Try again.
Try again. If you failed, try again.
Goes away. Nice technique, dude. Right, now gently increase the speed. Keep it going to a count of 10. Bit more. Okay, stop. Lift up.
No.
Try this hole. You got the dust. Just the speed now. Right, you got the dust now, dude. This is literally the heat you need. You got this.
Take that. Ta.
No worries.
Right.
So get that wrist nice and locked. And make sure that this stays at a nice upright angle. And I will tell you when I can see the coal smoking from below, which means you've probably got an ember. Five, four, three, two, one. One more push. You're good. Lift up carefully.
Oh. And move the wood.
Really gently. Samuel, my friend, you've just got yourself a Bowdrill ember.
I feel really satisfied right now. I'm also really tired.
That's a good coal, dude.
Oh, it took me 3 attempts.
Tell you what, you're stranded on a desert island, doesn't matter as long as you get the result.
Now I know this.
Dude, that's a solid ember.
Yeah, you don't even have to waft in it, are you?
No. Well done. And then just cup it in there, get it used to its new home. And then just if you kneel next to the fire pit, then you're in shot. Just gently blow it. Bit harder. Dude.
You?
Dude, that's insane.
Oh, that feels. Watching the smoke just grow and grow and grow to the point where you.
Well done, man.
Yes! Cheers, bro.
Oh. Well done. Dude, that's insane. Oh, I've got a nice crotch shot of you. There you go. Well guys, really successful day. Sam has carved his first coffee scoop.
Yeah.
We've learned some knife techniques, we've gone over basics of axe use, we cooked on the fire, we've done feather sticks, lit them with a fire still, and we even got Sam his first Bowdrill coal from scratch with a bit of willow out of my firewood pile, which we whittled down, okay, and made. And then Sam had to go on a hazel set as well to see the difference. So really satisfying day. It's been great to have you here, mate.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Showing you everything. It's been fun.
It's been great.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So what I do now after a day of carving, I'm running out of footage today to show you how to sharpen everything. I'll just take another, probably it deserves its own video really, how to sharpen and maintain everything. Basically, I'd run it over a fine grit stone and then strop it, okay, on a leather strop with a bit of stropping compound. I'd then clean and oil all my tools and put them away ready for the next time. To finish off Sam's little coffee scoop, all he needs to do is a little bit of sanding once it's dried and some oil, and it will be a long serving bit of your kitchen.
Looking forward to using it.
Sweet. Well mate,
Thank you very much.
It's been great having you around, and I guess I'll see you on Call of Duty.
Yeah, will do. Thank you very much.